District. It's case number CR 2022011311. The appearances remain the same. Also present, however, is Billy Joe Mon, who I believe Attorney Hitchcock Cross will be your next witness.
Yes, thank you.
Can you please go ahead and formally call her?
Sure, the complainant calls Miss Mon.
All right, good morning again, Miss Mon, now that we are on the record.
Good morning.
You do me a favor, and we're going to start. You please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
You can put your hand down. Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Billy Joe Mon, BILLIE, capital J MOHN.
Thank you. And just before we begin with questions, the way it's going to work is Attorney Hitchcock Cross is going to begin with questions. Then Attorney Pollard's going to have a chance to cross-examine you, and we'll go back and forth in that fashion until the attorneys have exhausted any questions. Is there anybody else, wherever you're at, is there anybody else in the room with you?
No.
All right. And do you have any documents or anything related to this case in front of you?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Attorney Hitchcock Cross, whenever you are ready.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Perfect, okay. And do you know Mr. Erickson?
I do.
How do you know him?
He's my husband.
Oh, good. I'm glad we could clear that up for everybody. Okay. Did you work for the Germantown School District at any time?
I did.
And do you still work there now?
I do not.
When did you leave?
The last of July, 2022.
And did you work with Ms. Altendorf at any time at the Germantown School District?
I did.
Okay, and what was your position in relation to her?
I was the administrative assistant for the Director of Business and Auxiliary when she started.
Okay. And about how long before she started had you worked at the district?
When I left, I had been employed with the Germantown School District for 24 years.
Okay. So a significant period of time, fair?
Yes.
Okay. And did you know Mr. Richard Christensen?
Erickson. Erickson, yes.
It was bound to happen sometime. Thank you. And what was your working relationship with him at the district, if any?
I got on with him fine. He was my boss.
I worded that inartfully.
I reported to him.
Thank you.
I was his administrative assistant.
Okay. And so we had some testimony on this, but it's fair to say Mr. Rick Erickson was your boss. You were reported to him. He was then replaced by Ms. Altendorf, and then you continued to report to her. Fair? Okay.
Yeah.
And when you were working for, and we're going to still focus on Mr. Erickson's tenure, did you ever accrue any overtime, just as a general matter?
Yes.
Okay. And was that overtime approved by Mr. Erickson or something else?
No, it was approved by Rick Erickson.
Okay. And I understand that at some point in your career at Germantown School District, you essentially took over the duties of 2 employees. Is that fair?
Took over the duties of 2 employees.
And maybe that you were doing the work of what that previously 2 employees had done before. Is that
Correct.
fair? Okay.
Yes. It was the maintenance secretary and then also the administrative assistant to the business and auxiliary.
Okay, so you were basically performing the secretarial duties for both maintenance and the business and office.
Yes, I was.
Okay. All right, I think we've got that part clear. Based on your knowledge and experience there, when Ms. Altendorf took over as the business manager, did the policy and procedures for overtime change at all?
They actually, the board did not want to have any overtime unless it was approved overtime.
Okay. And how do you know that?
There was an email.
Who was that email from?
I don't know if it came from Mike in HR or if it came from Mike and then came to us from Brittany as her employees. I'm not positive.
And this is part of what I'm trying to understand, because maybe I haven't seen this email. Is this email telling you that there's an official vote by the board saying no more overtime, or what is it communicating to you? Is the message here?
No, it was just that unless there was approved overtime, and Brittany had even said that, you know, if we needed it, we should talk to her about it. But that it was the direction. There was no, I don't think there was a vote on it in any manner.
Okay.
It was just their wish. And in my opinion, I believe their wish would have always been for there never to be any overtime, but you know, that's not always the case.
Okay, and in this email, was it clear that this was the wish of more than one board member?
Object to the question. We're talking about an email that we don't have in front of us.
To the extent you remember, I don't want you to speculate, Ms. Mott. If you don't know, just tell us you don't know. That's perfectly fine.
Okay. I'm not positive.
Okay, and I'll be I'll try to explain more of what I'm looking for, and maybe that'll be more helpful going forward. I understood you to say something like their wish was that there be no more overtime. Did I hear that part right?
Yes.
Okay, and I assume that when you're saying their wish, we're talking about members of the board.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay, and so the way that you understood this, was this the entire board's wish, or was this some members of the board's wish, or what?
I'm not positive. We typically, anytime you talk about the board, sorry, my volume just went down. You talk about the board, it's just generalized.
Okay. But, and again, to your knowledge, you've never seen a vote by the board saying no more overtime. Is that right?
No, absolutely not. I have not.
Okay. So I'll just use the term illegal directive when referring to this email going forward, because if there's not a vote by the school board, then we're going to assume it's illegal. Okay?
Mhm.
Okay. So when you got this illegal directive,
Objection to the form of the
Mr.
question. We
Novak.
don't even know what he's talking about.
Attorney Hitchcock Cross, I think we can simply call it a directive. I don't think we need to characterize it as legal or illegal.
Thank you.
okay, well, since we don't have any evidence of the fact that the board actually had a vote, then it seems like we're at the position that it's an illegal decision.
Objection, argumentative.
And it's not an issue in this case whether this is legal or illegal. So it really is we can just call it a directive and go from there. It can be classified any way you want, but it's not relevant whether it's legal or illegal in this case.
Well, and the reason I'm gonna have to push back on that, Judge, is it's extremely relevant, because part of the question is what was the district retaliating against my client based on his discussions or complaints about overtime. So if the board is illegally telling Ms. Altendorf to instruct the employees to not have overtime, that's extremely relevant.
Well,
So that's going to be my pushback on that, Judge. Excuse me,
but
Mr. Pollard.
Attorney Cross is not testifying here, and he's making his own legal conclusions in a
It
question.
is a legal conclusion, Attorney Cross. You can call it a directive. It doesn't matter if you call it legal or illegal. Let's just refer to it as the directive at this point.
Okay, we'll call it the directive then. So, and part of what I'm not clear about this directive, Ms. Mon, is, are we clear if this came from Ms. Altendorf, if this came from Mr. Novak, or somebody else?
I'm not I'm not positive. I would have to pull it out of my records.
I understand. Okay. Now, when you, when Miss Altendorf came on board, were you still doing, again, for lack of a better word, the secretarial duties of two people?
Yes, I was.
And consequently, were you working more than 40 hours a week at that time?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and what, after Miss Altendorf took over, what was the status of your being paid for overtime at that point?
I, at first, for the first I want to say for the first 3 or 4 months, it was either comped, which we were allowed to do, or it was paid out as overtime. And then after that, we removed it from our timesheets, which I documented anytime that I removed it.
Okay, and when you say when it was originally paid out, does that mean that Miss Altendorf originally approved the overtime?
She approved all my timesheets, even when it was removed.
I got it. Okay. And when the time was removed, was Miss Altendorf aware that it was removed?
There were notes in the notes section for every single week that it was removed. Yes. I documented anytime I had to remove overtime, I documented that it was being removed
Okay, and why did you remove it?
because she told us we could not have it. She told us we had to remove it from our timesheets.
Okay. So did you, I mean, is it the case that you were performed work for Germantown School District that you weren't paid for?
Yes, I filed a DWD claim.
Okay. Now, do you think that you're the only person at Germantown School District that was getting, not being paid for work that they were performing on behalf of the district?
I was not. I was not
Okay.
the only.
All right. So Judge, can we call this directive to take this, remove the overtime from the timesheets? Can we call that an illegal directive?
We're not going to classify anything as legal or illegal. It's legal conclusions, and we're not going to get into legal or illegal in this. So you can call it something descriptive that will give me an opportunity to understand what you're referencing, but we're not going to classify any of it as legal or illegal.
Sure, but isn't that something that we do here? I mean, isn't that part of the exercise that we're here to do?
This is whether it's legal or illegal is not an issue that I need to decide. What I need to decide is whether the respondent believed he would file or would participate in a wage claim or an overtime claim, not whether whether the actions of the respondent are legal or illegal in terms of their approach to it.
Oh, well, and then I appreciate that, because when I'm thinking about whether somebody's retaliating against somebody for filing a complaint, maybe if they are covering up illegal activity, that might be relevant to that. But maybe that's just me.
But you are the one that is classifying it as legal or illegal. So you are based on very, very short testimony, you are the one that is deciding whether it's legal or illegal, and it's a legal conclusion to do that. So I'm going to sustain any objection that would to you classifying something as a legal action or in an illegal action.
Okay, how about apparently in violation of the Wisconsin Fair Employment Act? Is that okay?
Objection.
We're not going to make any legal conclusions. You can argue what you want in post-hearing briefing, but for today, we're not going to have argumentative descriptors or legal conclusions as descriptors. Please just describe the action so the witness can testify to it.
Oh, okay. I understand that. Thank you very much. So, do you know of anybody else taking off overtime from their timesheets at the direction of Ms. Altendorf?
Yes.
Who else?
Beth Dover, the director of HR,
Okay.
the administrative assistant to the director of HR.
Anybody else?
Objection to these questions as hearsay. I understand you can consider it to a certain extent.
Well, but it's not even hearsay. I'm asking her if what knowledge she has of this. I haven't asked if anybody's told her what they've said.
You said
So
it at the direction of Ms. Elton.
And so so it would be hearsay in that regard unless you can establish that it's an exception to hearsay or you haven't asked about her firsthand knowledge. So I'm going to overrule the objection because hearsay is admissible, but without that background or that foundation, it doesn't come out of the hearsay realm necessarily.
Okay, so we had Miss Beth Dover. Was there anybody else?
I'm not off, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily know for a fact.
Okay. Well, how about Mr. Christensen here? Are you aware of him having to change, Erickson, are you aware of him having to change any timesheets on anybody's behalf?
His own staff's timesheets?
For example, or anybody's?
I can't actually say off the top of my head. I know that fact. I wasn't privy to those timesheets.
I
But
understand. Okay, I'm only asking you for what you know, so hopefully that'll make things easy. Are you aware of anybody making any complaints about the change in overtime policy?
not any formal complaints, no.
Okay, how about informal complaints?
Well, I think we all complained about it. I mean, several of us complained about it because of the workload. So, but I wouldn't actually say it was an overtime policy.
Okay, and so I guess I can put it another way. Did anybody else, are you aware of anybody complaining about not getting paid for all of their time working at the district pursuant to the law?
Well, we weren't happy about not being paid for what we had to take off of our timesheets, but again, we talked amongst ourselves, but there was not any formal. I don't know whether or not there was any other conversations with other administrators or
Well, did you ever talk to Miss Altendorf about why you weren't getting paid for all of your work?
no,
Why not?
because I liked my job.
Okay, and maybe you need to help me here. Why does liking your job equate to you not making complaints about the overtime policy?
I didn't want to go against the direction that I was being given by my,
Did you fear retaliation?
yeah,
Okay, why?
because I would have been going against what she told me to do.
Okay.
And she was my superior.
Is there anything about the way that she conducted herself in the work building that made you think that she would retaliate against you?
I would say my opinion would have been, yes, she would have done that, but I can't say that I have anything concrete. There's nothing in writing that I have to say. Just knowing or feeling the personality.
Sure. Did you ever witness her yell or scream in the workplace?
Yes,
Okay. Did you ever witness her swearing in the workplace?
yes.
How about intimidating subordinates?
Well, she would swear at you.
Okay. Other than swearing, was there anything else you did that was unprofessional?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean. I mean,
Well, sure. I mean, swearing is an example of being unprofessional, right? Swearing in the workplace is unprofessional.
well, it wasn't just swearing or like a group of coworkers together and using profanity. It was the fact that it was at you. And I can honestly say I witnessed it, but she never necessarily directed it at me, but I did witness it being directed at other people.
Okay. And do you think that that behaviors by Miss Altendorf was generally known in the school district?
Yes,
Okay. Do you believe Mr. Christensen was aware of that? Sorry,
Mr.
Erickson. Yes.
yes.
Why?
He may have been privy to it.
Okay. Well, did he ever discuss that with you at any time?
There were times in the last year that he would tell me conversations that had happened.
And are you aware of Mr. Erickson sending a letter to Mr. Novak about the overtime policy at any point?
He sent a letter to Mr. Nowak, and yes, I was made aware of it the evening after he gave it to them.
Okay. How did that happen?
He told me when he got home.
He told you about the letter when he got home. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What reaction did you have, if any?
I was livid. I was very angry that he had done that, because I felt that that would come across to me. I didn't feel in any way his job was going to be jeopardized. I felt like it was going to be my job that was jeopardized by him whistleblowing to the district.
Okay. Did you discuss the letter before he sent it?
No,
Okay. Did you request that he rescind the letter, for lack of a better word?
can you hang on 1 second? I actually have lost. I've lost.
I see that.
Yes,
Absolutely.
you're off video.
Okay, hang on. All right, sorry.
No need to apologize.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. So I understand that you say you had a negative reaction because of to Mr. Erickson sending a letter to Mr. Nowak. Do you know what the subject of the letter was about?
He just said that I don't know that I actually ever even read the letter, but he told me that he reported that that we were being told to remove the overtime from our timesheets. And he reported that to the district.
Okay. And so again, you felt that that would lead to retaliation against you. Fair?
Yes, yes, I did.
Okay. Was there any other reason that you were concerned about? Or any other form of retaliation that you were concerned about?
I was concerned about what, sorry, I'm not sure what you.
No, I'm saying, so sure. You were saying you asked him, and again, for lack of a better word that I understood, to more or less to rescind the letter. And the one answer that I understood you to say was that you asked him because you were afraid of retaliation for yourself. And now
Yes.
I'm asking you, is there any other retaliation that you were concerned about?
Can I just clarify? I don't believe the witness answered whether or not she did ask to rescind the letter.
Yeah, Attorney Hitchcock-Cross, you haven't actually asked that yet.
I appreciate that clarification. So
I
that's,
think it was when her video dropped out that you were about to get into that, and that's what caught it up.
thank you very much. Okay, so we'll take this. Ms. Mullen, we're going to scratch the last couple of questions. And if you can just bear with me for a second, I'll ask you this. Did you ever ask Mr. Erickson to do anything with the letter after you learned about it?
I probably did in my ranting, because I truly felt that I was going to be the one that was going to be in trouble for the actions of him going to HR about this.
Okay, and then from that point, I understand that you were concerned about you getting retaliated against. I'm asking though, generally speaking, was there anything else that you were worried about in terms of him raising this overtime issue to the district?
No,
Okay, then we can move on. In your role or capacity as the secretary to Miss Altendorf, did you learn of any reaction to Mr. Erickson's letter?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Sure. And just to be clear, Mr. Erickson sent a letter that he told you about it. You said you were livid about it. After that point, did you ever hear of anything about the letter from Miss Altendorf?
Yes, the next day, she asked me to come into the office and she asked me to look at my calendar because not only did I document on my timesheets anytime I had to remove my time, and I put how much I had to remove, I also put it on my calendar that I had removed the time so that I could use it as straight time in the future. And so she asked me if I could look at my calendar and determine how much time I had removed and get her a list of that. And then she told me that she did not know it was illegal.
Okay. And I'm going to break that back for a couple of things here. We were talking about before that was there time at any point where you were performing work for the district but not being paid? And I understood you to say that there was such times, right?
Yes,
Okay. And then here, after Mr. Erickson complains, correct me if I'm wrong, but Ms. Altendorf then directs you to more or less fix the time that you hadn't been paid for. Did I understand that part right?
she didn't ask me to fix the time. She asked me to go back into my calendar to list and calculate dates and times that I had removed and to give it to her.
Okay, so maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but was the exercise to then clear the calendar of entries, or what was the purpose of this exercise as you understood it?
My understanding of it is that they would make me whole for whatever time that I had coming
Okay, did that ever happen?
at that point in time. I believe that list I actually did get paid for. I would have to go back through and look. I do know that I sent it via email and then I did follow back up with it and I asked where they were at with it. And then she came back and told me that she was still waiting for a decision from Mike or an answer from Mike or something. But I would have to go back in my file, my records to actually, I do have it. I have all of my emails. I have all my timesheets.
Okay, and when you say Mike, do you mean Mr. Novak?
Yes, I do, Mr. Nowak, sorry.
Okay, no problem at all. And I guess I may have missed what she thought, what Miss Altendorf was waiting for Mr. Novak to give to her.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
And you said, I understand, or you were quoting from Miss Altendorf, her saying that she didn't know it was illegal. Did I understand that part right?
Yes, she told me that she did not know she did not know it was illegal.
Okay. And what was illegal as far as you understood it? What was she referring to in that sentence?
My assumption is that she was referring to, she didn't know it was illegal that she had us remove time from our timesheets, or me in particular.
I understand. Okay. And based on your knowledge and experience at the district, do you believe that Miss Altendorf truly did not know that it was illegal to direct her subordinates to remove their overtime from the timesheets?
I do not believe that. She's
And
very
what?
smart.
Okay. And other than her intelligence, do you have any other reason to believe that?
No,
Okay. Did Miss Altendorf ever display to you a working knowledge of the overtime laws at any time?
No,
Okay. How about Mr. Let me put it like this. Based on your knowledge and experience there, do you believe that Mr. And you said his name was Mr. Novak, understood that the process of removing employees' overtime from their timesheets was illegal?
well, I believe Mr. Nowak, as director of HR, should have assumed that he would have known that it was illegal for his employees, any of us, to remove time off of our timesheet.
Okay. And I just want to be clear that it was Miss Altendorf who came to you after Mr. Erickson complained about the overtime thing, not Mr. Novak, correct?
No, it was definitely Miss Altendorf, yes.
Did you ever speak with Mr. Nowak about the overtime policy after February 17th of 2021?
No,
Okay. Why, I believe you told me you're no longer working with the district, is that right?
that's correct.
Why are you no longer working with the district?
I couldn't stand the atmosphere.
Okay. And can you be a little bit more specific about what that means, especially in relation to Miss Altendorf, if at all?
Well, in July of 2021, I moved out of the business office and into the superintendent's office as the AA for the superintendent.
Do you know why that happened? Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry. Why, do you know why that happened? Why you were moved?
I wasn't, the gal that was in there retired, and I was asked if I would be interested in the job. They had also asked a few other people. I have my own opinion of why I may have been chosen to move into that position, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. Were you aware of whether or not the district did anything to Mr. Erickson after he wrote this letter on February 17th?
Am I aware of if the district?
So, sure, and I'll just to be clear, did the district threaten to demote Mr. Erickson after he wrote this February 17th letter?
Just one moment. It's a Wednesday in the Midwest, so it's tornado siren testing. Wednesday at noon, I should say.
All of the listeners from Australia will appreciate that, Judge, I'm sure.
I'm sure you were all aware of this anyway.
Yeah, okay. For extra comic relief, they're doing a double dose tonight. All right, there's pros and cons to being close to a police station. So, okay, so were you aware of whether the district ever gave Mr. Erickson a warning after February 17th?
Yes,
Okay, and were you aware if they ever put him on a PIP after February 17th?
yes.
Object to the question, just in terms of, it's vague as to the time period of after February 17th.
Well, do you want me to say 2021? Would that be helpful?
Well, are you referring to at any time after?
I am, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And Attorney Pollard, I think you can clean, if you want to, you can clean that up on cross.
Okay, thank you.
But
Hold on another moment.
to back up one second too. It's never been, this is Somebody called ahead because they don't usually do this. Oh,
It's really funny.
so I would hear.
You guys actually-
One more time for humor's sake. Come on.
If there's ever a tornado at noon on a Wednesday, we are all in a lot of trouble.
You got it. Okay. Thank you. So, and hopefully we can clean this up. But after Mr. Erickson sent this letter to the district on February 17th, were you aware of a threat to demote Mr. Erickson?
Yes,
Okay. And just based again on your knowledge and understanding and 20 years at the district, do you believe that these employment actions were in retaliation for Mr. Erickson sending this letter on February 17th?
I do.
Objection, asking the witness to speculate.
Can you lay some foundation, Attorney Hitchcock Cross, for that opinion? What is the basis of that opinion?
Sure. I was going to ask why, but what is the basis for that opinion is another way to ask that as well, I think. So can you explain to us how you were able to form that opinion other than your experience at the district, please?
Well, I would actually say that prior to him actually reporting it to the district, my knowledge of the relationship and Don's performance and Brittany's expectations of John's performance, there were no issues with it. We met on a regular basis, the three of us, and I took notes at those meetings. There was never any indication in any of those meetings that from Brittany, and I don't believe that Brittany would have had a problem saying it to Don in front of me, that there was no indication to me that there was any issues with his job. Again, we met on a regular basis. We went through the staff. Brittany met with everyone that answered up to her on a regular basis. I was in on these meetings and took notes. We went through all the staff that were under Don at that time. Don would give what the staff were doing. There was never any indication in those meetings that there were issues.
And about how many hours of meetings, I guess put that, okay. I think you answered that question. I appreciate that. Then, but I guess for my clarification, the issues arose after February 17th. Is that fair?
Yes,
Okay. And I'm more or less from my understanding, and this is from Mr. Erickson, he retired in, I guess at about the end of 2020. So there would have been at least in February of 2021, there would have been at least one semester and 2 months into Miss Altendorf's tenure. Is that fair?
yes,
Okay. And to be clear again, so from the beginning of the 2021 semester till February 17th, you were participated in meetings with Mr. Erickson and Miss Altendorf, and things were positive.
yes,
Okay. And then after February 17th of 2021, you also participated in meetings as a secretary or scribe, and then things became less than positive. Fair?
fair. But then there were some meetings that I was no longer part of because then they had meetings, Brittany had meetings with Don and his staff.
Okay. I understand. But but that was after things had already changed. Is that fair?
Yes, and then I guess in between that, then there were meetings added where we brought in a maintenance guy, and there were 4 of us that actually met, and it was more direction for the maintenance guy versus Don. So the meetings kind of changed where we were asking Mr. Neske how staff were doing versus Don.
Okay. And did you ever discuss either in school or out of school with Mr. Erickson, the complainant here, about his problems that he was having with Miss Altendorf.
Yes.
Okay, and can you describe the problems that he was having?
She was in meetings. There were meetings where she would undermine him. Or he would tell me that she had undermined him. Again, I was not part of those meetings, but his opinion and his feeling was that she was undermining him in these meetings.
Okay, and was that going on after the 17th, after he sent this letter?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, if you'll just give me a brief second here, I'm gonna put myself on mute and see if I have any more questions, but I'll be right back with you one way or the other. Thank you for that patience. I just have one last question here. When you were saying that Ms. Altendorf was undermining Mr. Erickson at a meeting, was that in front of Mr. Erickson's staff or something else?
It was in front of his staff.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I'm done with my questions for now.
All right, so Ms. Mon, the plan was to get through your direct examination and then to break for lunch. Attorney Pollard, do you know, is it going to be a lengthy cross-examination? Can we still maintain that plan? And you're on mute, Attorney Pollard.
That's fine with me, Judge, if we want to break now. I don't think it'll be a lengthy cross.
Okay, can we circle back then and come back on the record at 12:45?
That'd be fine.
Attorney Hitchcock Cross, does that work for you?
Okay, let's do that.
All
Fine.
right, Ms. Mon, does that work for you as well?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to ask in the meantime, before we go off the record, that you don't discuss, since you're still testifying, that you don't discuss anything related to the case with anyone, and that you don't review any documents in the meantime.
Okay.
All right, we will go off the record.